Hello, Tim Peacock again. Last time we spoke I was describing the construction of the water tank destined for Pendon Power Station. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how Pendon functions, and in particular the Railway Committee. Committees, eh? Pretty dull stuff, yeah? Well, bear with me because we are going to talk about a train a bit later on. But I thought it would be interesting for you to know a little bit about how things work. The Railway Committee in particular has two main responsibilities. We are responsible for ensuring that the main layouts, that is the Vale here and Dartmoor downstairs, function efficiently. We have the electronics designer Malcolm Smith to help us and his colleague Richard Harris, so when we run into trouble we can call on their skills. The committee itself consists of 6 people. There's Hugh Warwick, who represents Dartmoor, Tony Sheffield, who represents or looks after the locomotive side of things, Peter Swift, who's responsible for coaching stock, and Colin Underwood, who is responsible for wagons. On top of this, there is Chris Webber, who is our secretary, and myself, who attempts to maintain some sort of order and progression forward. The other big responsibility we have as a train committee is to ensure the accuracy and completion of the rolling stock for the layouts. It was envisaged initially that there would be 72 trains running on the Vale. The idea being to show a progression of different types of train over a period of years from 1923 to 1939. Now, we are some way off that ambitious target, so our job is to ensure that the remaining rolling stock does get built and to ensure the accuracy and fidelity of that stock. One of the things we try and do every year is to rotate the trains on the layouts, and this is for 2 reasons. The first is to give you, the visitors, something new to see when you come, and secondly, it allows wear and tear, particularly the locomotives, to be spread out over the whole fleet. So this last winter, 2018-19, we've introduced 3 new trains. We've put on a fish train, another goods train, and the one I want to talk about today is this beautiful parcels train that we have sitting beside me. Now, before we look at this train in a little more detail, perhaps I can discuss some of the general points about bringing a new train into service. Now, this one itself has been in the showcase to my left at least 20-25 years, and it's been something I've always admired and would love to see running. So this winter, in our shutdown period, the opportunity was taken to get the train on the layout and see how it performed. Now, initially, the instructions were for there to be 17 vehicles. It's a train running in 1933 from Fishguard to Paddington, and our immediate problem was finding a locomotive beefy enough to pull all 17 vehicles. A hall was originally scheduled to pull this train, but having gone through a hall, a couple of stars, a castle, we've eventually settled on Knight of the Golden Fleece, which is at the head of the train at the moment, and this one performs beautifully. The other issue has been finding 17 vehicles that actually run sweetly and stay coupled nicely, and a lot of time has gone into selecting vehicles, settling them, checking couplings, making sure they roll well before we've arrived on this final composition of 12 vehicles. Not the 17 we hoped for, but nevertheless a very impressive train and quite a long one as well. We now feel we have a train that's running reliably, looks interesting, and shows how parcels would have been carried by the Great Western in 1933. So let's have a look at the train in a little more detail. At the head, as I mentioned, we have a castle, Knight of the Golden Fleece. In fact, a star conversion. Beautiful engine, and then behind that, the first vehicle is a Python, a small 4-wheeled, high-roofed scenery van. Behind that, we come to a very old, open slatted Siphon C. So behind the Siphon C, we have a monster, which really is a bogie version of the Python, followed by a Siphon H, a nice outside frame version, and behind that an inside framed Siphon G, probably one of the commonest milk/parcels vehicles on the Great Western. But don't the Great Western give their vehicles such lovely telegraphic code names? We now come to the 6th vehicle, which you will see is in chocolate and cream livery, the coaching livery of the Great Western. This is a unique vehicle. There's only one ever made, It is a newspaper van to diagram M13 and was built in 1908. It's outside framed, which is quite unusual, and it must have been very well built because it lasted well into the 1960s. Following the newspaper van, we have a top-light Bars 2 passenger brake van of 1912. Again, in chocolate and cream livery. These were essentially for the guard, but would have been packed with parcels as well. After that, we come to some more brown vehicles. We have another monster, this time inside framed, and following that, one of the ubiquitous Siphon Gs, but this time outside framed. So here we are at the end of the train. 3 more vehicles in chocolate and cream. The first, a 1928 steel-sided passenger brake van to K38. And then this beauty, a 70-foot newspaper van to M14, built in 1910, and somewhat unusually running on 6-wheel bogies. And finally, right at the end, tail end Charlie, a little tiny Dean K4 passenger brake van. There you have it. As the train comes past us now, you've had a little insight into some of the work that the Railway Committee does here at Pendon. It also gets involved with weekly maintenance to make sure the system remains running before each opening weekend. This train probably took the best part of 4 months to get into commission. Slightly unusual, but many of these vehicles have never run before. But with perseverance, a bit of ingenuity from a team of people, I think you will agree the site is worth coming to see. Also, if you feel you have the skills to contribute to our train building programme, we would love to hear from you. We of course need to check your coach or wagon building credentials, but we would love to hear from you if you feel you can contribute in some way. Thank you very much.